Okay, I'm going to show you guys how my method for chasing a growth ring on a Osage orange stave to make a bow out of. Okay, if you can see it here, there's a growth ring right there, and then as you move up, here's another growth ring, and then there's another one, and then a couple more. These are all in the sapwood. It's hard to see with the polyurethane on it. With Osage orange, you have to polyurethane your bow, your stave, almost every single time you're done with it. Every time you're done with you working on it for the night, or else you'll get that. That's a check crack at the end. I'm gonna have to cut this off like right here now. But anyways, this is all from here. Back is all one growth ring. You know, pristine back of the bow. A little sanding needs to be done, get a couple of spots off. I thought I violated it here, but at closer inspection I didn't. So we're good. I've got it done on the ring I want all the way to here. It was to here this morning, that's why it's shiny back here. But I ended up taking it from here to here. Now what I do is I expose one growth ring above the growth ring that I'm trying to open up. I just take it down to the one right above it first, and then it's a lot easier to just take one growth ring off. But I work down 3 or 4 to the one above it first, and the reason I do that is if you see right here, I chipped in pretty deep and almost went down to the growth ring I'm trying to expose. So it gives you like a safety net. That's the first thing I do. The second thing I do that may be a little different than what most people do is I have 3 tools I use. A farrier's rasp, a draw knife. This is a store-bought antique draw knife, and it's still really sharp. It cuts you to the bone, but it's not quite as sharp as my homemade draw knife. Hi, buddy.
Percy.
Percy? He's a little stage fright. Anyway, I use my homemade draw knife. Yeah, hang on. I'll clean the poop off your Percy. The puppy's pooped on his Percy train from Thomas and Friends. Anyway, I use a regular draw knife that's sharp but not really sharp, and then I use a homemade draw knife that is razor sharp. I use the razor sharp draw knife. Even though it's smaller, it takes more wood off because of how sharp it is. Always use the bevel side down, like a chisel. You know, you want it to pull back out. You don't want it to dig in deep. So I use the razor sharp draw knife back here through the sapwood to remove tons and tons of wood. You know, get down through 3 or 4 rings, and then when I get to like 2 rings above the one I want to chase, I switch over to the duller one. The reason I do that is the duller one chatters right through that chattery pithy material. You see this pithy stuff right here? See how it's like it's got some honeycomb looking stuff? It's like kind of bumpy. Well, when you're going through that, it actually makes an audible noise. It's like, you know, and chatters through. And if you use a duller draw knife, what happens is it'll ride right along this harder layer of late wood that you want to expose, and it'll rip up that pithy stuff only. It'll go, see if you can hear it. See how it just takes that early wood up, the spring, chattery, crappy wood, and it rides right along this late wood. It like doesn't want to cut into the late wood, especially on Osage because it's really strong, dense wood. But it'll cut right through that spring wood. So you use a dull knife to actually chase the ring. I use a sharp knife to get down close to the ring I want to use, and then the rasp I use on knots. And I usually don't use it, but it's just there for an emergency kind of. I try not to use it if I don't have to. Often I end up, you know, getting to the knot and just taking off tiny little pieces at a time, like that. Let's see if I can get you in the view here. And I just take tiny shavings off the knot, and I work down to the knot, and then I'll cut the top of the knot off just a little bit, like just thump, and then I'll work down the sides of the knot again, from the knot out, both directions, and I continue that process over and over again until I've got the knot down to, well, like this one. You see that one's a knot, that was a knot. They're pin knots, but they're knots nonetheless. There's a knot. There's a knot right there, knot right there. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And they're just groups of pin knots, but they're knots, you know. I call them a pin knot because they're kind of small. Some people would call them a legitimate knot. I don't know. But you can see the distortion a knot does in the side of the bow. You see this line here? So, I mean, knots are detrimental to the wood. This bow was not really split. It was like sawn, kind of. I mean, it was split on one side and sawn on the other. And then for some reason, they sawed it sideways out here, maybe to get a big knot out of it. I'm not really sure. And I thought it was going to be a big deal because, as you can see, it's not going to run straight. It kind of curves at the end. But you see the growth rings here? They run this way. The growth rings here also run this way. So if I can get down a few growth rings into this, 2 or 3 growth rings, and expose this sucker like that, I might still end up with a straight back because the growth rings still run that way. The sapwood was really off, but the growth rings run the right way. Anyways, that's how I chase a growth ring. Just wanted to show you guys that. I'm Jesse Rush of Fling Out Bows. Take it easy.
Hi.
Hello.
I didn't let my friend bike.
Yeah.
My friend, I got a bike.